Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Angler's Covey Fly Fishing Report. My name is Tim Hannon and I'm here today filming with John Kleiss. Today we're going to be talking about the Arkansas River beneath Pueblo Reservoir. It's fishing really well. We like to use a lot of egg patterns right now as an attractor. We're also using some Baetis emerger patterns. John Barr's pattern's great. We like using a Baetis pattern, probably a Copper John red, a flashback pheasant tail. All sizes around 20 to 22 would be preferable. You can also get away with using some bigger stuff there. I've seen fish taken on a Prince Nymph that's size 16, again a flashback pheasant tail 16. Just getting there with some bigger stuff too to be an attractor pattern. Again, on Baetis patterns, RS2s will work very well. Try to get into some specific stuff tied by our guides, Mojo midges, Bubbleback midges, the Bubble Smack midge. They're all going to work really well to help you get into those fish. We, of course, have those available at the shop for you. Just ask our professionals behind the counter where to get those. Start at the Nature Center and work your way up to the Valco Bridge. The Valco Bridge is a walking bridge near Valco Ponds. Don't try to find it with your car. Get in big trouble if you do. If you go up there, between there and the first few runs beneath the bridge, closest to the Nature Center, you'll find some great dry fly fishing as well as some great nymphing. Again, use a great attractor pattern like an egg and some Baetis emergers. I'd also like to talk to you about Cheeseman and Deckers today. They're both fishing pretty well. The hardest part about fishing there right now is we have quite a sun shadow, especially in that neck of the woods. I'd say your premier times to fish would be between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Although 2 o'clock is sometimes pushing it. It gets pretty darn cold in those canyons. That wind starts howling through there. Your guides start icing up, and so do your fingers. That being said, again, we're going to use a great attractor pattern like an egg. You can also, if the flow bumps a little bit, use a red San Juan worm as a great attractor. Now we're using really, really small stuff, okay? Especially in this area, you're going to be using 22s and up in your midges. Again, focus on the Baetis. We like the John Barr emerger. It's really good. You can even use a Copper John, but I'm talking little. 22 red, 22 black. I like those a lot. Again, use a Black Beauty. Use some other ones that you haven't tried before. Some that have been sitting in your box real little. Get them in the right spot. You should be successful. Now, once you get into Cheeseman, it's a hike in there. Plan accordingly. Bring a small lunch, bring an ample amount of water, and remember, between 10 and 2 are your best times to fish there. Usually we also have some clinics and seminars in the shop to go over that. Last week we had Gene Ray, one of our resident professionals, go over the best way, I should say, to fish that area. So, when you're interested, look up on our website to find out when some of those clinics are going to come through that are going to really help you fish better in the wintertime. I'd like to also talk to you about 11 Mile Canyon. Of course, that's kind of the bread and butter of the shop. Even though we're trying more and more to get away from it, it's still fishing pretty good. Although it's been tapering down because of this late season pressure, people really try hard to get in there before the season ends. Of course, we know in the shop that the season never ends up there, but we're going to get a lot of people up there right now on a nice weekend especially. Again, a good attractor pattern, we've been talking about it. A good worm or egg pattern, the fish is going to come to your line. Start using your small Baetis stuff, your Black Beauties, your small midge stuff. A cream midge on top might take a few fish. Your dry flies, very, very small. 24s, 26s. Honestly, doesn't really matter what it is. Parachute Adams, a cream midge, a black midge, a Griffith's gnat. As long as it's little, those fish will be keyed into it. What I like to do is I like to tie 2 of those midges together or 2 of those dry flies together. It's a little bit easier to pick up that pattern when they're 30, 40 feet away from you. Okay? Some people like to use a big one, a big Parachute Adams, let's say size 20, because of that white tuft they can see it, and then they'll trail real small 26 behind it. I also like to pre-tie my flies before I go up there. Again, before we have that sun shadow, it gets downright cold in that canyon. So if I have a couple rigs tied together, all I need to do is tie it to my leader and I'm ready to fish. So again, 11 miles fishing well, choose your times appropriately. Sometimes I like to go more in the afternoon. By the time I'm actually getting up there, people are starting to leave. It's a good approach to take when you're fishing a crowded tailwater. I'd also like to talk to you about fishing in places where people aren't going to go. Of course, you guys all know about in October and earlier November, when the browns spawn in the Dream Stream? Well, you'll have literally hundreds of people flocking to this place from Denver, Colorado Springs, all the way down into Albuquerque, flocking here to get into these big browns. Believe it or not, we have people coming from around the country to experience that. So because of that, this place gets so much pressure that it's really difficult to fish. I'm here in late November, early December, and there is literally one other car in my parking lot, another car in a parking lot that is about a half mile away from here. There is literally 3 or 4 people up here right now. I was up here 2 days ago with a great friend of mine, Chris Heim, and it fished outstanding. Probably the biggest fish I've caught without actually getting some fouled or fishing at night, which just seems to be a pretty common thing to do. You know, the fish aren't spawning right now, so there's a lot of fair catches and there's a lot of big fish to be had. We've been using a lot of pegged eggs. I'll go over in a second about the pegged egg system. It's worked incredibly all season long. But then again, little small midges behind that egg. I really like a small flashback, not a beadhead flashback, but a flashback pheasant tail, and then an annelid. I like a red annelid behind there. I like to put hardest hole on my annelids. It gives it a really nice sheen to it. It's been working really, really well. So again, small midges behind a pegged egg system. We've been killing it up here. The trick is, get to a place, tailwater or wherever you know is going to be open water, where there's not going to be a lot of people. Most people think, you know, I can just pile out of the car in 11 Mile and go fishing. It's a quick and easy day. Well, with a minute amount of research, you'll be able to find that secret spot where nobody else is. And again, when we're out here fly fishing, it's not fun being neck and neck and arm, shoulder and shoulder with the person next to you. Although those days can be fun, in general, we get out here for the solitude. So, a little bit of research, call your local shop, you know, take that 3-mile ride into Waterton Canyon. You can find some open water in the wintertime. It's beautiful out here today. There's literally 2 or 3 other people here, and they're not even close to where we're fishing. So, do a little bit of research, and you'll find some great water all to yourself. Now I'd like to take some time and actually talk about our pegged egg system. Now, we have borrowed this from an Alaskan system. This has been working for a long time. Basically what they do is they clean their fish on their docks. They'd have a bunch of leftover carcasses in row, and they'd throw it over the dock. The reason they'd throw it over the dock and they wouldn't save it is because if they kept it in camp or for any other reason, well, they'd have a bear problem pretty quick. So, pretty soon they developed these glass beads that got to be extremely popular. Basically what they do is, after they throw in the carcass, you could actually see the percussion wakes of the rainbows coming upriver to devour the carcass. So what they do is they throw one of these little beads in amidst the carcass and they catch these humongous rainbow trout. Well, a few people down here got to thinking, well, if that could work up there, why do I need the carcass? If there's eggs in the water, they should take this very lifelike looking egg pattern. The best part about it is it's easy to tie. All I have to do is put it on my leader. They come in packages that cost about $2 to $4. So what we do is we put on the egg on our line, and then we actually tie a hook beneath it. What happens is the fish takes the egg, and then as they set the hook, it actually sets the hook in the side of their mouth. Okay? I've even caught fish this year that took the egg and just didn't let go. I never actually set the hook in their mouth. So when I got the fish into the net, they just let go of the egg. It's probably the most beautiful catch and release system I've ever used. But at the same time, I like using a really sharp competition hook. One, it starts barbless. Generally, I don't spend the money on competition hooks. Some people will just bellyache when they hear me say that. But at the same time, I use them in this system because I want a really strong hook, because I'm usually testing it on really big fish. All right? If you need any advice about how to tie this pegged egg system, come into the shop. I've seen them done really wrong before, and if you put too much of a gap in between this egg and the hook, you run the risk of really damaging that fish. Either the hook will go into the fish's eye or into their gill plate, and you'll have to harvest that fish if any of those things happen. Most of you I know don't want to harvest your fish, you want to release them. So if you want a quick tutorial, just come into the shop. We'll show you where the eggs are in the tying section. Again, this has probably been one of the most popular things to do all season long. Any brood fish or stocked fish that is fed on eggs while in captivity will love to eat these. So you're guaranteed to at least catch those fish. More likely you'll be catching really big browns, really big rainbows, really big cutthroats on this egg pattern. This system, the pegged egg system, has worked incredibly well all year. Come in, you should try it.